Johnny Nelson chases clout in his recent IFL interview. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Brem Star Says So. So in a recent interview with Eddie Hearn's favourite rent boy, Johnny Nelson, former cruiserweight champion of the world, makes up a story that didn't happen about a conversation he had with Tyson Fury and Tyson Fury's perspective on the heavyweight division. Now, Johnny Nelson was clearly chatting out of his arse, and if you really want to see what he had to say word for word, then just go check it out on IFL. But basically, Johnny Nelson was given his take on the heavyweight division and sort of made up that he spoke to Tyson Fury on the phone about it. Nelson claims that Tyson Fury had called him up in the evening and said that all three of the three key heavyweights, Fury, Wilder and AJ, had all sort of spoken to each other, and all of these men have acknowledged that they're all great fighters and they all want to fight each other and nobody's scared. Johnny Nelson goes on to claim that Tyson Fury says that these guys want to fight each other and it's not all about the money, but it's about the politics and the men behind the big companies that are stopping these fights from happening. Now, in my opinion, that is clear as day, and I just want to say to Johnny Nelson, you're chatting shit. That phone conversation only happened in your dream, mate. But, you know, because if I was Johnny Nelson, what I would have said to Tyson Fury is, why did you go and sign with ESPN? That ESPN deal really goes and makes making fights between Wilder and AJ a little bit harder. Everybody says that everybody needs to earn money, so on and so forth, but now fighting exclusively on ESPN makes a Fury versus AJ fight that little bit harder to make, as if it wasn't hard enough with the two of these guys fighting exclusively on BT Sports and Sky Sports exclusively. Now there's a blocker for the American leg of their fight, with Tyson Fury now supposedly only allowed to fight on ESPN. Eddie Hearn has said multiple times that Anthony Joshua does not have a deal with DAZN in place and can fight on any network he chooses to in America, and they will go with the one that makes the most financial sense. So let's see how long Eddie Hearn sort of sticks to that narrative and that story. But for Tyson Fury now, you are definitely putting on some sort of blocker. It looks like Deontay Wilder is going to stay loyal and remain with Showtime for the foreseeable future. And Anthony Joshua, if DAZN really are paying him what they claim they are, he will be fighting probably on DAZN for a long time coming as well. And because of that, all three of these guys are sort of tied up within boxing politics and so on and so forth. Johnny Nelson also goes on to claim that Tyson Fury says, in his opinion, his next fight will be against Deontay Wilder, and that should be on pay-per-view. Now, as I've just said, Deontay Wilder has made no mistake of letting people know of his love and admiration for Stephen Espinoza and Showtime. Deontay Wilder will stay on Showtime for the foreseeable future, and if Tyson Fury can only fight on ESPN, I don't know how Tyson Fury believes that him and Wilder will be fighting each other going forwards. As I said, Johnny Nelson has made this up. He's lying for his ass. He's looking for clout, and he just wants to get a bit more internet sort of fame. Johnny Nelson should stick to doing what he does, and that's doing the gloves are off. I don't really rate him as a pundit for Matchroom fights, and the few times that he might have been on commentary as well, he ain't really done much. He should stick to being that guy on the cutscenes in between fights, giving his opinion. And I think what he should do is stay out of the top three, stop stirring the pot and stop meddling. We already know that getting these three guys in the ring to fight each other is going to be hard enough as it is when it comes to money, politics, networks, so on and so forth, promoters that don't like each other. We all know that Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn can't stand each other, and we all know that Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman don't seem to be getting along eye to eye either. Johnny Nelson is not doing anything to help the fans get these fights going by just chatting shit in the media and running this through Eddie Hearn's rent boy. What Johnny Nelson needs to do is just keep his mouth out of it. Johnny Nelson had recently done an interview saying that we don't know the ins and outs of the Wilder deal, so on and so forth. So, you know, what he did was he sort of stuck out of it then by saying he can't criticize Wilder because he doesn't know the finer detail. In Johnny Nelson's own words, the devil is in the detail, and all he's doing right now is stirring the pot. I don't believe that he spoke to Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is not the kind of person that's ever needed a messenger. He's got a massive mouth and he likes to do a lot of talking. So why would he need Johnny Nelson to go and spread his word for him? That's why I personally believe Johnny Nelson is chatting out of his arse. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Do you think that that conversation with Tyson Fury ever happened? Do you think that these three guys are going to fight? Me personally, I don't think they're going to fight anytime soon, if at all. So just get used to seeing the type of guys that you see them fighting. Deontay Wilder's already recently said that he's got enough fights on PBC to stay busy for the next 2 to 2.5 years. And Anthony Joshua, I'm sure, will have enough fights throughout the UK, so on and so forth, and guys throughout the Matchroom stable. Tyson Fury is the person who's definitely going to struggle for fights. He's fighting Tom Schwartz, a guy you've never heard of, and then apart from that, you've got Pulev in that stable, and then unless Frank Warren's going to make him go and annihilate the likes of Dubois and Gorman, there ain't really anybody for Tyson Fury to fight, especially as a guy who calls himself the lineal champion, fighting below par fighters. Everybody knows that Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua can only fight guys that are ranked within the top 15 of the belt or belts that they own. Tyson Fury, who supposedly is a lineal champion and ex-Ring Magazine champion, seems to be able to pick and choose who he wants to fight whenever he wants to fight him. But as I said, back to the story in hand, I think that Johnny Nelson is chatting out of his ass, and I think he needs to just stay out of this one. It's going to be hard enough for us, the fans, to stomach this, because I do believe when we finally do see Wilder and AJ fight, or AJ and Fury fight, it's going to be similar to Pacquiao versus Mayweather, where we're looking at people way past their prime, and they're just sort of milking the fans for pay-per-view money. As I said, let me know your thoughts. Hit like, hit subscribe. That's the end of the show, because Remstar says so.